Hi Sydney, kia ora, my name is Jessica Hansel. I also have been nicknamed Coco for half my life. I'm a rapper, artist, writer, activist, thingy. I'm a Māori German Samoan woman, and just want to shout out to the DJ, fellow Māori. We've been having a great time. 4 years for Jam, and I'm just going to speak in Māori, as that's kind of a way that would make me feel comfortable, just for your own understanding. I'm just going to say a mihi and then a pepeha. A mihi will just be acknowledging all of you, all of the amazing artists and activists and different people that have gathered here tonight. And I want to acknowledge our tangata moimoia as well, the Indigenous people that I know I'm standing on the unceded land of the Aboriginal people of Australia. I just want to acknowledge their desire to be acknowledged by your government, which also has a history of disrespecting my people, tangata whenua Māori people of Aotearoa, New Zealand, and kia kaha, we're in solidarity, so I'll just begin. Ko tēnei toku mihi ki te whakaaro te whakaaro. Te kakano mai te whakaaro, ka puta te kupu, te tuhi, te mahi. Ko tēnei te mahi o te kai toi. Ko tēnei te mahi o tātou, kua hui mai nei i tēnei pō. Nā reira, kia koutou ngā mihi, mai oha, ngā mihi mahana, ngā mihi awha, mo te koutou whakaaro, te koutou tuhi, te koutou kōrero, te koutou mahi toi, ngā mihi, ki ngā tangata moimoia o tēnei whenua kia kaha. Ko mokunui a rangi tuku marae, ka whakarongo rua tuku maunga, ko hokianga te moana, ko utukura tuku awa, ko te pōpoto tuku hapu, ko ngā pui nui tōnu te iwi o oku tūpuna. No hamoa me ki te amani hoki i te taha o tōku pāpa, ko Jessica Hansel, toko ingoa. Ko Coco Solid, toko ingoa. Mauri ora, kia ora. So tonight, I would like to speak about filters, splaying our scrutinizations, and the audacity being the only portal we have left to attain a reimagining. So it's going to be a real party. So I also just want to say thank you to Liquid Architecture, the Liquid Architecture family, for this amazing opportunity. I'm always grateful to speak. I never want to be on the Las Vegas circuit and take this shit for granted and be like, dial it in. I don't ever want to be there. I always am completely fucking shocked whenever anybody wants me to pontificate in public. So I'm really grateful. And I recently have been... when I'm faced with the opportunity to address audiences and platforms such as your good-looking selves, I find myself in a bit of a quandary because I think this is something that not many visible artists, especially ascending, ambitious ones, are necessarily comfortable talking about. But I am, not because I am radical or a provocateur, it's actually because I'm kind of cabbage and I do this, I just say things because I'm trying to understand it live in real time. So I'm trying to understand why discourse, whenever we talk about art and activism and how they intersect and how they're inseparable, why when we talk about diversity, why it kind of seems like a mafia racket, and why it seems like a Las Vegas circuit for lots of artists, and it seems like a template. And I feel like I get drafted a lot to be that person, and I would just want to know why things are the way they are, because of when we present to each other in the real world, the way we do it, it's so far removed from what we're saying when we're with our friends, when we're keeping it real with our friends, when we're talking to our communities and when we're popping off on Twitter. Imagine if you talk like that in public, Imagine if you said that when the lights were on you, kind of like now. As soon as we get into a context of formality and presentation, or a mic is in front of us, or other panelists are beside us, we usually choose a path of dubious resistance, and it's something that I can only, now that I'm starting to get quite familiar with it, I can only really describe it as performing anger. It's a scripted complicity. I think it's people being fake, disguising it as dismantling, disguising it as destabilizing, and it's a counterfeit rebellion. And to me, it's like getting fiber optic internet cables in your home, and you know you've got massive bandwidth, you've got Korean style speed, everything's like hurtling up, and you're still addicted to using MS-DOS because it looks good, you know? It's like, oh, it's a good aesthetic, I just really want to stick to MS-DOS right now, you know? I'll be like, you know that you've got fiber, right? You know that. I'll be like, no, I just really love the cursor, right? And that's why I feel like constantly in those contexts, I'm cerebrally chafing. I'm just like, and it's kind of like my arm has been in a cast for a long time, and you're all healed up and you're ready to go, and the doctor's like, you know, I just think you should keep it on. I just think you should stay in the cast. I'll be like, oh, I'm feeling better. I'm kind of ready to go. And I'll be like, no, keep it on. I'll be like, how long for? I was like, I was thinking forever. You know? And so I feel like I'm begging for a new way to extend my limbs all the time. And so then you get asked the question, what does a feminist methodology look like? And I think that might be being open to the fact that it doesn't look anything like this. And I think it's being open to the fact that somewhere else in the world, on other planets, it's, if we're doing our job right, like if we are corrupting those templates and antagonizing them correctly in the future, they know it's not going to look anything like this. People, you know, I talk about this in my work, and people say, oh, okay, well, what does it look like then? What does the new paradigm look like then? No, you seem to have like such a big problem when you suggest. I'm like, I don't know what it looks like, but I'm betting if I did have to identify what it looked like, it would look like a multitude of paradigms that all fight it out to comprise, you know, I won't say unified paradigm, but I'll say one that replaces what we do now, which is a monolith. So in this ultimately futile quest to find a new paradigm and way in which I'm safely, my voice is protected, and my voice is the updated 2016 model of my ancestor's voice, I react a lot. And some of it is very raw and unbecoming, and I accept this. Some might say borderline feral, I don't know. Some of my reactions are more premeditated and laboured, obviously, because I need them to be productive, I need them to be taken seriously. And taken seriously is another conversation all in itself, because who was the buzzkill, Buzz Killington, who correlated serious discourse with quality discourse? Because we really need to sort that shit out. It's really fucking boring. Sorry, I lost my place. Yeah, we're not robots, and this is how institutionalized intellectual people, I believe, spook each other out of speaking from the heart and scaring each other and being real and really, you know, scrutinizing what the other person is saying. So our right to be messy and wrong and to have our ideas rupture and humiliated and be held accountable in all those ways, that's the way forward. But this is the old paradigm's nightmare, you know? It's like, no. To not rehearse yourself and to not be gratified and to dethrone yourself, that's like, no, I don't want any of that. It's also low-key my way of justifying why I didn't rehearse this, but that's cool. So yeah, if I break it down, I think what I'm talking about is filters. And I'm obviously a code switcher from the get-go. You know, Māori, German, Samoan, you're like multitude of kind of classes and kind of takes on gender, everything. I'm just kind of cuspy, McCusp sticks. And yeah, code switching, I'm big fan. Dimension, infiltration, cultural plane jumping, menstrual fluidity, you know, I have all of those things in my repertoire. But I'm just wondering, like, when did code switching mean subscribing to filters? Because I don't feel that you need to do that when you're in an array of contexts. You can code switch, but you don't have to adhere to the filters of other people. And you don't have to betray one code in order to survive in another, even though that is what a paradigm often wants us to do. And overlooking the hurts of your people in order to say not hurt the feelings of one person kind of seems like maybe, you know, a bit uneven. And when artists mix up the two, when they confuse the two, the codes that they've got to kind of jump around and the filters they've got to employ in order to survive, and I speak from experience, I'm not just being I've noticed, you know, I've kind of lived it. This is how we get tokenized, I think. And this is how I feel in the past, say, and I'm sure we've all got examples of this, people might come to assume that you're the good version of your people, you know, like, oh, she's a really good Maori, you know, she seems really good. Or, you know, dudes, if you're in kind of a male-dominated situation, you know, no, she's a really talented woman. Oh, she's really talented. Like, very, like, I know. And they feel that way, you know, real high stakes gratification with you, until you say, oh, where are the other good Māoris? You know, or, oh, yes, where are the other talented women? Or, you know, just put it out there, where are the other transgender people and, you know, people with disabilities and people who are Indigenous and, you know, immigration. I just want to put it out there. That's when they shut it down. They're like, too much. Because some see this as a sign of disrespect, like a personal attack, because you're questioning their decisions and you're scrutinizing the privilege that they gave you, that you've been given, that you were awarded. Like, why would you do that? You threaten to have it revoked from you. And so some people can't have their privilege taken from them. We all know that. But I know firsthand that I can, because I've learned that the hard way, which is why I'm pontificating about this. And so we were talking about this last night, and we're having a big feed downtown, and I think scrutinizing the privilege you've been given and the decisions of others, that's actually love to me. That shows you that you actually give a shit about a person. If you're willing to say, oh, I want to kind of, you know, examine this with you. I think this could be better. That's love to me. That might be kind of a cultural thing too, because in Aotearoa, since the Treaty of Waitangi was signed in 1840, it's been a bit of a shit fight, you know, between the Crown and Indigenous people. But we know that that contention is part of the fabric of how we communicate with each other, and that it's not necessarily, well, it can take the form of a personal jibe if it's, you know, if you're having a bad day. But it's productive because it's based on love. We're trying to establish a way in which we can fuse effectively, how we can produce effectively. So caring enough to want your community to improve, even if it means having a fight about it, I really think that's a pretty small price to pay. And it's when I no longer scrutinize your decisions that I think people should be worried, because that means I've gapped it. That means I've dipped, I've bounced. I'm no longer, you know, I can't do it. So I think with actual disrespect, what that looks like is wanting others to speak and perform the way that you want them to, because it fits into your agenda. And I think to have them engage with our ideas in the mode we ask, you know, that's a colonial thing, that's a capitalist thing, that's an imperial thing, it's like a code of conduct that is put on you. And so They just want to use many of us to reaffirm the identity that they want to present, but it's not real. And this is where I kind of flip my shit. It's the most ironic to me that to want that from people, to control their conduct when you are talking publicly about change, which is how you get in the racket, I call it, where people are like, let's talk about diversity. I need you to talk about it like this. I need you to discuss it at this volume. No, it's controlled. So are you even talking about what it is you've been drafted to talk about? No. Racial diversity, gender diversity, or the legislation, any kind of reimagining that you are trying to facilitate, why would you ask for it to be tame as hell? Why would you want that? How could you see that as being useful to anybody? You might as well buy me something. I don't want to participate. Because a reimagining at its core, a reimagining is a revolution. It's step one in the revolution anyway. What am I entitled and allowed to think? And the answer is anything. Anything. Okay, well, how am I licensed to engage and react to those holding my ideas back or bringing me harm? And the answer to that is however you feel necessary. Do whatever you think is necessary. And institutions will kind of say the opposite. They'll be like, no, we actually have the long-winded answers, and we can give those to you slowly over about 3 or 4 years, and you should really pay for it because we have got sick answers. It's like, what have you heard about intuition? No. I've got the answers you need. And we all have boundaries, of which I'm a really massive advocate. Boundaries, those are pretty sacred to me. But again, kind of like we mistake the words code switching for diplomatic filters, we mistake boundaries for adhering to those kind of limitations. So this is how we get duped out of our possibilities. This is how etiquette, this is what they used to drug us with. And decorum, when it's abused, in my opinion, is a fucking scam. This is how land gets snatched, and this is how men pass legislations telling women what to do with their wombs, and this is how emotions and identities get industrialized and conditioned, mass incarceration, you name it. It's all based on us getting duped out of our possibility via adhering to what is good, defined by what, defined by who. And I wrote this recently, and I'll say it here because it's something I feel strongly about, not because I'm dialing it in, I swear to God. It's about deactivating filters and ideas of what is not only appropriate, but what is possible. So I believe I can consume and reframe information, any information, however the fuck I choose. And any artist fighting to reclaim their sovereignty on any level has a license and sometimes an obligation to rebrand reality completely from the ground up. And you don't have to feign enjoyment for work or agents or regulations. People who don't scrutinise their role or engaging with others who their success erases. You don't have to feign enjoyment of that. You don't have to do that anymore. I'm kind of telling you, permission granted. Who am I? I'm just a rando from New Zealand, but I'm telling you that. We do not need data-capped ideologies to authenticate and justify our learning and our semantics or our interpretations of life. And I believe it's like a really reckless reimagining that we have to be a part of. I can't describe it, but I think some of y'all know what I'm talking about. So I guess what I'm trying to say is the mess is the most productive and the most alluring to me right now. Mess and chaos, I think, is where it's at. I think interrogating and violating everything that I have been conditioned to believe whenever I get an opportunity is kind of my jam. So, flexing your mess to the world, that is a radical act. Whenever you are, really undone, busted, rinsed, whatever you want to call it, comprised of paradoxes and mess, that's the real shit. That's what you should be pooling and celebrating, because that is in fact a radical act, not a unification and a kind of coagulated nice little conduit in which you can present to the world and a script in which we can pontificate thoughts that we've actually rehearsed in private. No, that's not it. So in terms of productivity, I would like to encourage and implore you as my peers, even though y'all don't know me, you're my peers tonight, to react from the gut, from that really visceral, illogical place, and still articulate and try and translate it, but still speak from there, and not from the filter, not from the muzzle that we have become so fond of, or that we're fucking forced to wear, and reimagine how things could be from your fantasies. Not from that voice that says, be realistic. You need to be realistic. Because that voice, have you ever noticed that 9 times out of 10, that voice is talking in the accent of the limiters? That's not your friend. Be realistic. Where's that fucking gotten me? I'll tell you where being out of it's gotten me. Here. So I just want to thank all of the amazing artists that I've seen tonight, and all the nice people that I've met. And that's my tirade, Sydney. Thank you.